Hi guys, welcome to Short Skirts and Sarcasm. I'm Caroline, and today I'm going to tell you about my March TBR. And yes, I know we're almost halfway through March, but I was busy. So what I usually do is pick 3 print books I want to read, 3 ebooks I want to read, and then 4 audiobooks for 10 overall, usually for my monthly TBRs, and I will go through them in alphabetical order. So first up, A Conjuring of Light by V.E. Schwab, and this is the 3rd book in the A Darker Shade of Magic trilogy, and I will not be reading this edition. I'm going to listen to the audiobook because I listened to the first 2 on audio, and when I read a series, I like it to be homogenous, and I read them all in the same medium if possible. A darkness sweeps the Marish Empire. The fraught balance of magic falls into dangerous territory where heroes and foes alike struggle to survive. A Conjuring of Light sees Schwab reach a thrilling culmination concerning the fate of beloved protagonists and old enemies. Welcome to the end of the world and the grand finale to a fantasy trilogy that took readers by storm. Now, obviously, I really enjoyed the first 2, and so I have been waiting for my loan of the audiobook to come through for almost 6 months. I put the hold on it in October, and I am 2 weeks away from getting it, so I should be able to squeeze this audiobook in March, and I'm so excited. And I will eventually reread the series, and I will probably read these editions. Next up, I have Don't Touch My Hair by Emma Dabiri. And Goodreads says, Emma Dabiri can tell you the first time she chemically straightened her hair. She can describe the smell, the atmosphere of the salon, and her mix of emotions when she saw her normally kinky tresses fall down her shoulders. For as long as Emma can remember, her hair has been a source of insecurity, shame, and, from strangeness, family-like discrimination. She is not alone. Despite increasingly liberal worldviews, black hair continues to be erased, appropriated, and stigmatized to the point of taboo. Through her personal history journey, Dabiri gleans insights into the way racism is coded in society's perception of black hair, and how it is often used as an avenue for discrimination. Dabiri takes us from pre-colonial Africa through the Harlem Renaissance and into today's natural hair movement, exploring everything from women's solidarity and friendship to the criminalization of dreadlocks to the dubious provenance of Kim Kardashian's braids. Through the lens of hair texture, Dabiri leads us on a historical and cultural investigation of the global history of racism and of her own personal journey of self-love and finally acceptance. So I am excited for this one. This is also one I have on audiobook, and I do already have it downloaded on Libby. This one isn't too long. It's only 256 pages, so I should be reading and getting through that soon, and I am very excited because I don't think I've ever read a book that is purely about hair before, so that is a new avenue for me. Next on my TBR is Fried Green Tomatoes at the Whistle Stop Cafe by Fanny Flagg, and this is another audio, and it's also a reread. I did read this, I think, in 2009, so it has been quite a while. It's been almost 11 years since I read this. Listened to the audiobook. I listened to it on audio then as well, and I really enjoyed it, and it was really wholesome and made me feel warm and happy inside, and I think we could all use that right now. So I am happily returning to Whistle Stop and the characters that live there. Next up, I have From Blood and Ash by Jennifer L. Armentrout, and this is going to be a Kindle book that I will read, and it is the book club book for Ashley from Our Frolic Through Fiction's Patreon book club for March and April, so I thought I would get a head start and go through that. And I think it's a fantasy romance between this girl named Poppy, who in her fantasy realm's religion is someone called the Maiden, where she is sequestered, not and told not to talk to anyone or have anyone look at her, to be kept pure for the day that she is going to be given as a gift to the gods. So that sounds rough for her. And then the other side of this premise is that she's assigned a new personal guard, and he's really hot. Hawk Flynn, I think his name is. And I think like the romance that is being set up has like a clear path that we can all assume is going to happen, but I don't know what else is going on in this world, so that's going to be interesting. I don't read a whole lot of fantasy romance, or really fantasy at all. I've only been getting into fantasy maybe really like the last year or so. So exciting times. Next up is Norse Mythology by Neil Gaiman. And I have really enjoyed everything else I've read by Neil Gaiman. I only started getting into his work again in the last year or so. And what I do like about his audiobooks, because this is another audiobook, is that he reads them himself, and he has a really nice voice. And it's just enjoyable all around. And so this is his retelling of Greek myths. And I am expecting a bit of humor, and I enjoy myths, and I'm barely familiar with Norse mythology at all, apart from what's in, the Marvel Cinematic Universe, which is probably the tip of the iceberg. Next up, Piranesi by Susanna Clarke. Now, I haven't read her other book, so I have no idea what to expect. But the premise sounds intriguing and a bit strange. Piranesi's house is no ordinary building. Its rooms are infinite, its corridors endless. Its walls are lined with thousands upon thousands of statues, each one different from all the others. Within the labyrinth of halls, an ocean is imprisoned. Waves under the staircases, rooms are flooded in an instant. But Piranesi is not afraid. He understands the tides as he understands the pattern of the labyrinth itself. He lives to explore the house. There is one other person in the house, a man called the Other, who visits Piranesi twice a week and asks for help with research into a great and secret knowledge. But as Piranesi explores, evidence emerges of another person, and a terrible truth begins to unravel, revealing a world beyond the one Piranesi has always known. So I am intrigued for sure. Next, I'll be reading The Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. And this was like a Waterstones book of the month years ago, and I remember it sort of being on my radar, but then being like, is it about a snake? I don't know. But I did finally cave and buy it because it was pretty, and like every time I read the premise, it sounds really interesting, and then I immediately forget. So London, 1893, when Cora Seaborn's husband dies, she steps into her new life as a widow with as much relief as sadness. Retreating into the countryside with her son, she encounters rumors of the Essex Serpent, a creature of folklore said to have returned to roam the marshes. Cora is enthralled, believing it may be an undiscovered species. Setting out on its trail, she collides with William Ransom, Old Winter's vicar, who thinks the cure for hysteria lies in faith. Men. While Cora is convinced that science offers the answers. Despite disagreeing on everything, he and Cora find themselves drawn together, changing each other's lives in unexpected ways. Told with grace and intelligence, The Essex Serpent is set in an age of exhilarating and alarming change, but it is above all a celebration of love in all its incarnations and what we share even when we disagree. So I've seen a lot of books that I like advertised as for fans of the Essex Serpent. So I guess if I'm a fan of those, then I might also be a fan of this. And I also like snakes. So, I mean, sounds like can't go wrong. Next up, I have The Priority of the Orange Tree by Samantha Shannon. And if you have watched other videos of mine, you will know that I have already started this. And it's a big book, so I thought since I had gotten through my February print books, I would go ahead and start this one in February so that I wouldn't have to try to get through all of this. And I do also have a different book club book that is also a hefty book. So I wanted to get a head start, and I am enjoying this so far. Again, it's fantasy, and I will have to reread it at some point because I don't quite understand everything. But like I said, that's just me being new to high fantasy. And this is about Queen Sabran, who is Queen of Inish, I think, and she needs to bear an heir, otherwise like her line will die out. And across the ocean, dragons are rising and I think want to destroy Inish, and so she and her court need to get it together and find a way to save the realm. Next up, I want to read The Sweet Far Thing by Libba Bray, also in ebook format. And I have read this before. I read it when it came out forever ago, like in the 2000s, and I loved it. I love this entire series. It's the final book in the A Great and Terrible Beauty series, and I love Gemma. I love her friends, and I love that they're flawed and that they are still trying to do their best and save the world. So this is another fantasy, but it's like a historical fantasy in our world. So in this one, they've battled some evil things in the first two books, which I don't want to spoil for you because I think you should read them. And now they're facing up for the big, most important battle, and I'm really excited to get back into this. I've been doing a reread of the series for the past few months, and I love Libba Bray. She's one of my favorite authors, so I am pumped. And the last book on this TBR is The Wind-Up Bird Chronicle by Haruki Murakami, and this is the chunky book I was talking about that I have to read for my book club with my friends, and it's 600 pages, and it smells like Waterstone still. Good memories. And I have been a fan of Haruki Murakami's other works. I've read After the Quake, which I talked about in my February wrap-up video, and I've also read Kafka on the Shore, which I loved. I read that in high school. And also Norwegian Wood, which I didn't love as much because I think it romanticizes suicide, but we can talk about that book another day, because this book is about a cat, and I love cats. So Toru Okada's cat has disappeared. His wife is growing more distant every day. Then there are the increasingly explicit telephone calls he has recently been receiving. As this compelling story unfolds, the tidy suburban realities of Okada's vague and blameless life, spent cooking, reading, listening to jazz and opera, and drinking beer at the kitchen table, are turned inside out, and he embarks on a bizarre journey, guided, however obscurely, by a succession of characters, each with a tale to tell. And this is giving me like Kafka on the Shore vibes, which also features cats. So we're heading in the right direction. And so I've been wanting to read this for so long, so I am pumped for this. I'm pumped for all of these. Okay, that's it. That's 10 books I want to read in March, and I will probably end up reading more than 10 books, but you can find out about that by subscribing and then watching my March wrap-up video when I eventually make it, maybe in June. Who knows? In the meantime, you can follow me on Instagram and Twitter. I will have the links in the description box below, and you can also read any book reviews that I might write on Medium as well. And I will see you next time. Bye.